right. We're going to wait just a minute for everybody to join us. All right. Hi guys, I can see that 4 of you are on. While we're waiting for more people to pop on, will you, in the comment section, if you can, just say a quick hello, introduce yourself, first name only. We'd like to know who's here. And then we're going to get started in just a minute. But for now, you can introduce yourself over in the chat. Also, know that throughout this broadcast, the cool thing about it is that you can ask questions. And so we use the chat feature or the comment section to ask those questions. So feel free at any time to type that in. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to our very first Sage Startup. Here's Alexis, guest speaker event. This idea kind of came about as we've been really trying to incorporate guest speakers throughout some of these units of study because that helps while we're all at home and we can't be here to watch. So this is Alexis, and she is a Sage Startup student. And I'm so excited she's here because she's also an entrepreneur. And she kind of took this Sage Startup assignment where we kind of had to really rethink what the heck we were doing. And she took this pandemic and is kind of making the most out of it. And she is going to talk to you guys about her business. And I'm just going to start by asking her, Alexis, hi, to share what is your business and what was your inspiration for it?
So my business, well, I'm Alexis. Hi. So my business is called Morning Glory, and my business is I bake like muffins and quick breads and coffee cakes and deliver them to people's houses. And I got the name for my business from we have like a recipe book that's like really old. I think it was my grandma's, and one of the recipes in it is called Morning Glory, and so I've like every time I flip through to like make muffins or something, I see it, and I guess the name just kind of popped into my head. And so I've had 4 customers that I've delivered to, and one of them is Mrs. Torres. So
They were delicious.
yep.
And so have you always had an interest in baking?
Yeah, I'm a really like I just like to bake a lot, and I probably bake something like a couple times a month. Um, and I've baked lots of muffins and lots of quick bread before, and I've never baked a coffee cake, but I baked my first one last week for Mrs. Rust, and she said it was really good and it smelled so good. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning new skills and honing the ones that I already have.
Awesome. So one question I have for you is thinking about Sage Startup in that class. Like, is there anything you learned from that class that you feel like is helping you right now? Or do you think you already had most of these skills or already knew what process to go through?
So this class has helped me kind of like just like figure out like the specific process because like my friend and I tried to start a business like a year ago, and or maybe it was 2 years ago, but we were only in like 5th or 6th grade, so we were still like kind of young, and like obviously I'm still really young, but we were gonna do a sewing business, and so we took like I think a web class, and we created a website and business cards and a logo and stuff like that. So like some of that I already knew like how to do and like how that works, but I learned a lot of new things in this class, and like lots of new like details about stuff that I hadn't like really realized before, and I think that helped me a lot with this of just like planning the business and keeping track of stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that is the goal, you guys. The reason that we have a class like this isn't so that we can have the most successful startup business at Sage. It's so all of you guys can learn the skills that you need to become entrepreneurs yourself. And one thing we're learning in this society is you don't necessarily have to be an adult to be an entrepreneur. And also, it doesn't have to be your only job. And I think that's a cool thing because a lot of times our mindset is we have one career that we're going to have, and that's the only job we're going to have. And you can all be an entrepreneur right now. And so I asked Alexis if she would just kind of share her process. Like, how does she plan for this business? And she is going to tell you about that now.
So I did a lot of planning in a notebook that I have. I forgot to like bring it with me, but it's there's just like pages in there that I was just like, oh, this could be a good idea for a business, or maybe this. But my mom and I kind of narrowed down the list to like I think top three, and it was like lip balm, like this, and like making bracelets or something. And we like tried to think of something that would be like the most practical and that everybody would like be able to do. So um, we chose this idea, and I've been keeping track of stuff in a notebook that I have, and I've like written down some like details and stuff about like prices, and I've kept track of like all my customers and what they ordered and stuff. So that is helpful because if I want to look back and be like, oh, did I deliver to this person already, or did I do that? Then I have it written down, and I have more ideas like making like a menu and um, like trying to make like other things to help promote my business.
Mhm.
And I think I'm going to continue it throughout the summer maybe because I'll have way more time, and it's really fun. I like to bake and I enjoy to bake. So it's just a really good fit for me.
Awesome. Do you want me to go ahead and share your presentation?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to try this, you guys. I'm hoping it works. You'll have to let me know if you can see it here in just a second. Um, Forgive this. It's going to look really, really messy for just a minute. Okay, can you see that, Alexis? Can you see
Mhm.
your presentation right now?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, hopefully everybody else, can you still see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so we'll start here.
Okay, so this is my logo that I made TaylorBrands.com. I made this logo a few weeks before we did our lesson on like the logos and business cards, and I think it turned out really well. I wish I could have like more details. Like I wanted to have like a sun shining out of the muffin, but this website isn't super like complex. But it like lets you pick a font that you like, and you can like pick like a template. So I think I had like the one with black letters, and you can have a logo and you can change the color of it. And so I decided to have letters, but you can make ones without letters. You can make ones that are just words, and or you can combine the two. And that's what I did. So I made a muffin because obviously I'm baking muffins. And I picked this font because I thought it just kind of went really well with it, and it was just kind of like fun, especially with the M in morning and the L in glory. It has like a little like spike at the end of it. I thought that was cool, and it only took me like 30 minutes, so it was really quick.
That's not a bad time.
So this is me wearing my homemade apron and mask while delivering a coffee cake and a loaf of pumpkin bread to Mrs. Rust's house. So I like hand sewed the mask and or I machine sewed them, but I made them myself, and I was staying safe and obviously like being 6 feet apart and stuff. And Miss Russ actually took this picture of me, but I thought it would be fun to put in here because it's I don't know, it just looks good. So
Awesome. I love it. Oh, and where are you there?
I'm at Miss Torres's house in this one. I'm walking up the steps, and these were the muffins that I made for her along with her pumpkin bread. So those were we had to package them in a box from Costco because we didn't have anything to put them in since there was like 12 of them. So We put tissue paper in it, and it looked really good, and it was resourceful. So.
And so what I noticed about that, the packaging is that is one thing that we talk about in Sage Startup is how you package a product. And so I noticed and appreciated like the pink tissue paper inside. I think that added some, like nice aesthetics to it. And you do, it's interesting to think about because people do, they notice your packaging.
Okay, so this is more pictures of my apron and mask that I made. There's the back of it, and then there's just that itself. But that was something that I came up with at the very beginning of all this, and I thought, well, I want a mask because I want to obviously stay safe, and if somebody doesn't feel comfortable with like me like coming up to their door and like talking to them, because not everyone does, then I want to have a mask and I want to be like safe. And then I thought, well, what if I made a matching apron with it? So I made these aprons before and they were really easy and fun. So I decided to make one again and make a matching mask with it that I could wear. And then in the summer, when all this will probably be less concentrated, I can just take off the mask and just have the apron.
I love it. And I will tell you from personal experience right now, I know when we get like takeout, like we'll get car side takeout and stuff, I think we feel much better when we know that everyone's wearing a mask. Like I try to make sure I wear a mask when I go in a car, and I feel more comfortable when the person serving is too. So I think that was a great element. All right, now we're on to your wallet.
So I have it with me. This wallet I sewed in Sage Textiles last year. Um, and I've kept it for a long time. It's really pretty, like on the inside. And I keep some change in there. So like if someone like, since my prices are like $6, $7, and $9 for different things. That way I have like enough ones where like if they gave me a 10, I could give them change back, or I have like enough that like I could like if they gave me a 20, I could give them change back. And I think I keep like a 10, a 5, and like 5 ones in there just so I have like enough to make change. I
Mhm.
haven't had anybody make change because people either pay me the exact amount or they give me a tip, so that's really nice. Um, but I haven't had to make change yet, but I probably will at some point. So.
Awesome. There we go.
Okay, so this is the QR code to my recent survey because I made 2 or 3 of them. One was on SurveyMonkey and this one's on Microsoft Forms. And if you want to scan the QR code on your phone or on a different iPad or something, you don't have to, but you can look at the color scheme of it. You can look at the questions that I did, or you can just give feedback. And I think it turned out really well. The color scheme is kind of like an orange yellow, which is the color scheme of my logo and my business. So I think it fits really well with that. This is the digital flyer I made on canva.com, which I think turned out great. And this was the website on Miss Torres recommended. And I think it's like really nice that I could incorporate my logo into it. And just like have a nice overview of the business kind of, and it just like if you were to see this you'd be like, oh, she's gonna deliver baked stuff to my door. And it's like I found a really good picture that I thought went with it because it had the orange yellow feel that I had within my business, and I think it just turned out really great.
I love that. And you guys, a digital flyer is so important, especially right now, because if you think about it, um, that is about the only way to advertise right now. When you're in person, you can make posters and banners and things like that. But social media seems to be kind of the way that we're finding out about businesses. And I really try to think about, what local businesses am I finding out about and how am I finding out about them? And it's all through different like social media sources or it's through referrals from a friend. And so both things are common and both things are happening. And so those digital flyers are great. And you guys, if you haven't used canva.com, it is fantastic because they make it look very pretty and they make it look very professional. And it is work, but you don't have to be a graphic designer to be able to use it. Now, those of you with graphic design skills, you guys use those. A lot of you have taken that class, or maybe you just have your own skills. And I think using those to your advantage is huge, so important. Alexis, do you have anything else you'd like to share?
Um, I thought I might just talk about like my customers and like maybe the amount of money that I made and like true profit.
Yes,
Um,
and how you figured that out too. That would be great.
so I've had only 4 customers so far, um, 3 adults and 1 kid, and my profit or my revenue, which is like the overall money that I made minus like or without like subtracting my expenses. So this is just all of the money that I made was $49. So pretty much like $50.
Mm-hmm.
Of that, the profit that like minus the ingredients was $37, which is pretty good for only 4 people. Um, because we had to pay for disposable pans. Um, we had to pay for like obviously like flour and sugar and spices and all the other ingredients. And we also factored in like a little bit of like the heat because like my oven, I probably used it like 6 times or seven to bake all that, and it got really hot, so that probably used quite a bit of energy. And then water, because there's water in the recipes, not very much, but that was a factor of it.
Hang
And
on, before you continue, I want to talk about something just really fast too. So there is a term that we haven't talked about yet at Sage, and basically it's when in the beginning stages, especially as you're testing out products and you're developing products, you have to factor in an R&D or research and development cost. And so your costs are going to be higher at the beginning, and then as you get like more honed in on your products throughout, you figure out ways to make them cheaper, and you don't have to do it. It doesn't cost as much eventually. Sorry, go ahead, Alexis.
yeah, I think that's a good point because like right now I feel like my prices are reasonable, and I'm gonna stick with them at least till the end of quarantine. But
Mm-hmm.
if I like, eventually get in a rhythm where I might make like I might just like switch this to just quick bread, then I might just take out the
Yeah.
coffee muffin and just make it like one like specific type of thing, and I could just do like lots of flavors of that, and I could just have like a specific menu because right now it's kind of like whatever they want, like whatever the customer wants. But eventually I'll have to take that away just because if I get too many customers, and obviously I'm not gonna have every single ingredient. Like I might not have bananas, or I might not have
Right.
make something like specific. And I'm glad nobody said like lemon poppy seed because we don't have poppy seeds, and we have to buy poppy seeds and all of that. So I think I just need to like work on that a little bit and make it more like specific so I can say like, okay, well here's you have these 6 options and then you can pick from those or um,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And um,
You'll find out which ones are your most popular ones too. And so you'll be able to kind of narrow down, and then you only have to buy ingredients for those instead of everything.
And eventually, I will pay for my own ingredients because I think this business is going to grow. If I want to do it over the summer, I think it's going to grow because people, like, it's a continuous business. Like, you don't just say, like, you don't get this one time and then, like, you never get it again. So, like, if someone got it and they really liked it, they're probably going to get it again sometime because it's like it's not just like you have to get the same thing over and over. You could get a different bread or a different muffin or whatever. So
Mhm.
I think that's good. And then my like prices, I'm just gonna tell you guys that just so you can see that they're like pretty reasonable. Is um, for a loaf of quick bread, I'm doing $6 because that's like one of the easiest things to make, and also like our gas money because like my mom drives me over to people's houses, so um, those are $6, and then muffins are $7 because they're about 12 muffins, so a dozen. to say because it's the same amount of work as quick bread, but I have to scoop it into lots of little cups. So that is like one of the hardest things about making muffins, at least for me. But and then coffee cakes, which are huge. They're like giant pans. It's like 9 by like 13 or like
Mm-hmm.
11 by 13, and they're really big. So those are $9. Um, but they're like humongous. So I think those are like a good price for those because like if it was a tiny little like 7 by 5, obviously it would be way less. But it takes such a long time to make. I feel like it's not worth it to just make a tiny one. So I'd rather just give them the big one and just like get more money off of it if I'm already spending like 2 hours making it. So
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So you guys who are on right now, if you're live, I want you to take a look at the chat, make sure that you have that pulled up. Now, I think what we've learned about this is you can't type in a question unless you have a Google account. I think that's so some of you may not be able to type a question in, but I see Aaliyah's here and she likes chocolate chip muffins. I can attest to Leah that they're really good. So pay attention to that. Look over there, see if you have any live questions. I also want to talk to you guys a little bit about, I would love to hear if any of you guys have businesses that you've been working on. I know that you have kind of done it as an assignment for Sage Startup, but I'm curious if anyone's like carrying it out and legitimately making products and producing those, because I think it would be cool to connect those of you together that are actually doing that so you guys can chat and get advice and all of that. Alexis, what do you think the hardest thing about all of this is?
well, one of the hardest things is kind of like timing on stuff because I wanted to make an email account on my phone so that way I could like connect with everybody and get their email so I could say like, okay, would you be okay if we dropped off your order within like the next day or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard because like I can only do people I know because my mom just doesn't want me to like someone I don't know, obviously for safety reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she has to bring me and my brothers. I have two younger brothers, and um, whenever we go out, so she has to time it where like one of them's not sleeping or they're not like working on their school, um, or like if my dad is home because he's like works during the day. So if he's home like on Fridays, I think he's off. Then and like the weekends, then we can deliver then when they can stay home with him. But most of the week, when I deliver on Mondays and Tuesdays, like he's working, so they have to be home.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, driving like 20 minutes somewhere and driving back, that's kind of a long trip, even when it's really not that long because they're young.
Yeah.
So the timing on stuff and just like when it's done, because my mom wants me to keep everything like cool, like she doesn't want me to deliver warm stuff just so it doesn't fall apart or like get a weird texture. Because I can't package it up when it's warm or it'll get mushy.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be careful about that, um, and that's really, um, I guess that's the hardest thing for me at least, because with baked stuff you can't let it sit for a week because it'll get crusty, and you can't let it like sit there for like 10 minutes because it won't be cooled down. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That timing is huge. And that delivery piece is an extra kind of complication. I'm curious too to like even consider like maybe you can establish like a pickup process or option too. Maybe that would make it easier, but there's a lot of logistics there that make it hard. So Aaliyah, I see that you are trying to work on a lip gloss business with your cousin. Um, can't wait to hear more about that. Now, I've made chapstick before, but I've never made lip gloss. So I'd be interested to hear what your process is and how you guys are doing on that. But I think um, that idea of kind of starting a business, there's a lot of things, no matter what it is, that's going to be similar to the process that we use in that planning piece. I know it was really cool because last year, if you're in seventh grade, or you probably remember, if you're sixth grade, maybe not, when I had Malia, my youngest, Mrs. Graybill was my long-term sub, and she actually has a legitimate handmade sewing business. And it was cool because when she was looking at like our process for this class and our curriculum and everything, she said, this is exactly what I had to do when I was starting my business. And so what we've learned, I think, is now we certainly haven't learned everything, but I think you can follow kind of that order and that process as you're trying to create your own businesses, you guys. Awesome. Well, we've got just about a minute left. Is there anything, Alexis, you want to share, or if anybody else has a question, shoot it in the comment box. Any final thoughts?
I'm looking over my list here. I think that your like colors, I guess I kind of talked about this already, but the colors I think are important because like yellow and orange stand for like optimism, positivity, motivation, fun, cheerfulness, and vitality. So like I think that's good because like I want my business to be like fun, and it's not for me. It's not work. It's like something fun. So it's not like, oh, I have to get up and bake today. It's like, oh yay, I get to bake today and I get to do something since obviously we're all bored during quarantine. So I think just like the reason behind your business is really important because if you're doing it just to make money, then it's not really a business. It's just a forced work. So I think if you're going to start a business, it has to be something that you're willing to invest time in and you're willing to do um, just because you like to do it. So
That's great advice. Thank you so much for joining us, Alexis. If any of you guys who are tuning in either now or later as you're rewatching this have something you want to share with everyone, I think this is a really fun format to have the opportunity to hear from one of your classmates because it allows us to chat, but it also allows you to see each other. Sometimes teams can be a little bit tricky if there's a lot of people. And so I kind of like this. So if any of you out there want to share something that you're working on, I think it would be really cool for all of us to see it. I've got to say, you guys, I miss you so much. It's really hard not to be seeing you all the time each week. So please hang in there. Please reach out. I love getting emails from students, and I will always try to email you back. So even if you just want to check in and say, hey, please do. Alexis, thanks again. That was so awesome. And she really does have some delicious products. So you guys should check her out. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
bye.
Bye.